Hey Rebels, Coach Jim here. Now, in honor of International Transgender Day of Visibility, we here at Nerd Fitness wanted to talk with people in that space. So I recently had the pleasure of sitting down with 3 transgender athletes: gym owner Minky Kim, powerlifter Liam Taylor, and bodybuilder Kris Lara, to cover a wide range of topics, from pushing hard in your workouts to positive mindsets, as well as navigating the gym as a transgender athlete, and how any ally can work to make that gym space more inclusive. Lots of great conversations here, and we cover a lot. So check out the video descriptions for topics covered, and feel free to jump around as needed. Hope you find the talks fun and informative. Welcome everyone, Coach Jim here. Now, International Transgender Day of Visibility is March 31st, and in honor of that, we wanted to reach out to athletes and fitness professionals in that space, both for overall fitness advice and then, of course, for specific advice to the transgender athlete. So that's why I am joined today by Minky Kim. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll run through the impressive intro that you have. Again, I'm blown away every time I read through it. Minky is a Korean, queer, non-binary, neurodivergent, transmasculine athlete, movement activist, storyteller, performer, sex work advocate, and fat-liberated personal trainer. They founded Han Training, it's located in Chicago, after being disappointed in the lack of inclusive and accessible fitness trainers and spaces that align with the progressive and radical dismantling of white supremacy, queer transphobia, fat phobia, ableism, and classism. They are fully committed to providing as much knowledge and information as they can to their members so as to help others continue to build a connection with their bodies in a way that prioritizes the relationship between mind and body and encourages trust in oneself. Again, fantastic. So with that, again, and you mentioned, or you have on your site about influences from powerlifting to yoga to pole dancing, everything like that. To go right back to your intro real quick though, that Han Training, what exactly does that mean in terms of the name, and why did you choose that?
Sure. So Han is a Korean concept. It's a Korean word. And it actually came about like during the occupation of Korea, during the Japanese occupation, where other countries are coming in to try to colonize Korea. And it was described as kind of this sense of grief and rage and like intergenerational trauma that everybody kind of experiences and understands, and it's just been passed down generation through generation. And it's something that when I first discovered the word, I was like, oh, that totally makes sense to me. I very much relate to that, and it kind of tied a lot of pieces together for myself. And I also feel like that feeling and that concept is something that a lot of marginalized people just in general understand and like can really relate to. And I think I came up with this name after the pandemic had started. So like things were kind of, rough and everybody was just going through it.
Yeah.
And I decided like, okay, like how do we take this feeling of Han and like turn it into something like strength, and you use it for like channel it into strength in a community and like in our bodies and whatnot. So I decided to kind of change what I was doing then, which was like Liftyboi training, more of like a personal brand. I kind of split it and was like, okay, this is more about like community and like how do we build that using Han as a strength versus just like it is what it is,
That's fantastic. Yeah, really kind of taking that back, and I guess, like you said, take that pain and then transform it in a way through strength and through lifting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. In addition, of course, to being the owner of Han Training, we were very lucky to have you join us last year at our last Camp Nerd Fitness. Now, of course, both of us being instructors at Camp Nerd Fitness, we were both busy from sunrise to sunset. So I think I only got a couple words to you, but you had taught classes at Camp Nerd Fitness, I think maybe on a lot of the same concepts of like body liberation and confidence. Now, in terms of all this, why is that an important concept to explore? And what are some steps and advice that you would give to kind of help people with that body liberation and confidence?
Yeah. So for myself, like body liberation, it's like people sometimes are like, what does that even mean? And it's hard to explain because everybody has their own kind of ideas of it. But basically, it's like, how do you free yourself from the confines of um, these various constructs of what bodies are supposed to be or what they're supposed to look like? How do we like remove like attaching judgment or morality or ethics to our bodies? Because our bodies are just what they are, and we should appreciate them for what they are, and work within the limits that it gives us, and that's kind of the mindset of body liberation. Uh, Honestly, the first thing for me was just to stop caring about what it looked like, because for many of us, like the visual and the aesthetic is kind of like, what is it, pushed as like the main goal of movement
Yeah.
or fitness, right? Like folks are like, yeah, you want to get that like six pack and blah, blah, blah,
Get
blah.
ready for
Like,
the beach.
which is like amazing, like I totally get that. If that's a goal that you have, like awesome, go for it. But I think for a lot of folks, like that's really stressful and like puts a lot of pressure on them on top of everything else that's going on. So
Yeah.
having other goals is fine, I think is kind of where I'm going with that. Like any goal that you have for your body, like there's no judgment that needs to be placed on folks who want the beach body, but there's
Yeah.
also no judgment to be placed on people who don't care about that. And
Yeah.
like, I think that's kind of where I'm trying to go with this sense of body liberation.
No, I think that, yeah, that sounds fantastic. And in terms of like the goals, yeah, it sounds like so many people don't even know there's an alternative, right? Like, oh, it's always about the weight loss, especially with the sort of fitness world that we live in nowadays. Is that what you're kind of feeling?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like the idea of that seems so far-fetched.
Yeah.
Although nowadays I think it is starting to change, and like public and societal like perspectives on fitness and movement are changing. But still, like step by step, you still hear like the little bits of like, oh, my like freshman 15 or the pandemic,
Yeah.
whatever. And like these things, these small little things that still kind of, perpetrate in
Yeah.
our brains that we're trying
Yeah.
to get away from.
No, I mean, it's insidious. The vocabulary and the terminology that we just use time and time again, exactly like you said, people kind of say with a chuckle, like, yeah, gotta take away the pandemic 20 or whatever the
Yeah.
term was during the lockdown. So do you feel that people just kind of start saying those things to themselves, like, and they don't even realize they're saying them half the time?
Yeah. I think part of it is just like ingrained in like
Yeah.
conversation, like as soon as people start talking about food, like, or what have you been doing, like for the weekend, and people will be like, oh, I was just like lazing around on the couch and like
Yeah.
eating potato chips and probably gained like however many, like they start kind of like going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And like we all kind of, I think there's like a commiserating that people like to do together, which is
Yeah.
like cute, and I totally get that. Like we all need that to like get it out. But I think we can start doing that without being so destructive to ourselves.
Yeah. What do you feel? What do you feel is like a step in terms of trying to stop that that sort of automatic script that people sometimes have?
I think the first thing is just to like recognize it. Like if you say it, or if somebody else says something, and like taking that moment to think about it and be like, huh, like that's kind of interesting. And
Yeah.
then maybe the next step after that is to like say something about it. Like if folks come into the gym and are like, oh, I'm so out of shape. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like,
Yeah.
what is in shape?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like what, every shape is fine. So
That's great. Yeah. And that's probably very surprising for new members to hear, right? Like they're like, whoa, I can't believe someone's talking to me like that. Whereas a lot of gyms, they're like, yeah, you're out of shape, buy this package and blah, blah,
right.
blah, and eat this way, So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure you get some pretty interesting reactions from the change.
Yeah. I think it's nice because like folks start kind of like taking on that concept too for themselves. And then I see how it kind of like reflects in how they start moving and how, you know, they kind of interact with other people in the gym. So it's really cute to like, you know, we can
Yeah, I see
make,
that.
yeah.
That's why we're in the industry, is to see that
Right.
change in people, that
Yeah.
like that light in their eyes, and just the light bulb moments, as it were. I always talk to people about that, about, you know, to see someone's change in perspective is very fulfilling in
Oh yeah.
regards to that.
Like magical.
Yeah. The other line that you have, I think somewhere around the site or maybe Instagram, what I really liked with all this is that our bodies are our birthright. And that is just such a great, just mantra, a great takeaway from everything, that, you know, we should be looking to feel as comfortable as we can, sometimes in a world that doesn't make us feel comfortable in our bodies. So yeah, just very, very powerful stuff in that. Now, obviously, you've created, just you built what you wanted. You created that space that is safe and inclusive and is challenging all these different, speeches and scripts that we say to ourselves. Now, obviously, not everyone has that advantage to be able to go to your training facility or maybe a facility similarly. I wanted to talk a little bit about just sort of navigating some challenging gym situations for the transgender athlete if they decide to go to the gym. And we'll talk about that as another topic. But if they say, you know what, this gym, I feel like I want to go here and I feel like I might be able to go here, but I'm nervous about certain things. Can you speak to just some of the situations and what people could possibly do?
Sure. I think one of the biggest issues with going to a public gym is the restroom, you know, or locker room area.
Yeah.
Where do non-binary folks go? Or even just like if they're binary trans folks, it doesn't always feel safe, right? So kind of navigating that is going to be like the biggest challenge. What I found helpful is either to talk to a manager, but only if you feel like they're safe enough to talk to. And that's the
Yeah.
thing, is like, if they're not, or if you feel uncomfortable even asking a staff member, like, hey, is there a gender neutral place where I can go? That's, I think, in itself a sign, maybe.
Big red flag. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you should feel safe, you know, being able to be yourself. You shouldn't have to like worry about basic needs like going to the bathroom, or like, where do I change, or
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah, that's a huge issue. I think something else that can be a struggle is general gender dysphoria. Being at the gym, especially surrounded by a lot of strangers who
Mhm.
are, as far as you know, cis, and people know what they're look like what they know what they're doing,
Yeah.
and then you feel uncomfortable. And I generally say, like, if you don't feel good going to a gym space, period, or like you don't feel comfortable, or you're just not ready yet, there's a lot of stuff you can do outside of
Yeah.
that. I think movement doesn't always have to be about like lifting weights. It can be just like body weight things, doing something as simple as like skateboarding, or like climbing or running, or, which, I mean, I would never make anybody run, but if that were your thing,
Yeah.
that's something that you could do.
Yeah,
Um,
I've gone on a couple of runs accidentally over the past several years, but
oh,
yeah, no,
so
it was
sorry.
never my thing. I did it all through high school, actually all 12 seasons, and then I was like, I'm never running again. So
Yeah,
anyway, yeah. But back to
yeah.
your point, I guess it's like the gym is a tool,
Mhm.
and it can work for some people, but other people, you know, maybe they don't feel comfortable, to your point. And yeah, if you don't feel comfortable in a space, you don't want to try to force that tool into your toolbox, right?
Right. And there are some folks that that's what they want to do, and they're like willing to bear with the discomfort,
Yeah.
or, you know, and just do the thing. And that's totally cool if that works for you, as long as, you know, you're trying to you stay safe and just be wary. Or bring a buddy. Bringing a buddy
Okay.
can be helpful, especially if they're cis
Yeah.
or cis passing, and that can be really helpful.
Okay.
Otherwise, yeah, I think if you don't feel good, do it at home. Or if you
Yeah.
don't want to be at home, go to a friend's house. go outside to a park, whatever it is that's within your capacity. I think you can always find ways to move and like use makeshift, weights, because anything has a weight to it. So you can
Yeah,
use that.
absolutely.
I find that that's more interesting anyway. I personally like to feel out, what my body can do within the limits that, we have. So
Yeah, no, I was doing some of the same sort of things with like lockdown. Like I grabbed a bunch of sandbags, and sandbags are something I could have in my car, and I could drive anywhere, pop
yeah,
open the trunk, and be moving a sandbag around. And that is just terribly wonderful exercise when you have to haul this like dead weight around. So
yeah,
yeah, no, that's all good points on this one. Now, of course, like we're talking about like what the transgender athlete can do and how they can navigate things. Now, obviously, it's not a one-sided conversation. In terms of gym owners, this is a sort of a three-part question. In terms of gym owners, personal trainers, and then just other members, what can they do to help transgender members feel more comfortable in that space?
yeah. I mean, firstly, advocating for gender neutral common areas, just period, is always like a good start. There's no reason for common areas to have to be gendered anyway, and
Yeah,
just making that just like a baseline everything. Same
yeah,
with any like services you might offer or classes that you have. Sometimes, they're gendered, and that can be a little bit confusing or just non-inclusive. And so like working on those like languages or like language vocabulary changing,
yeah,
and like trying to make it more inclusive. And it's kind of like a flag, right? It's like a signal to people like, hey, we're trying,
yeah,
and like, we want to like welcome your community here too, and like make it part of a bigger community. So like those little things, even though they seem so simple, really do help. Or like if you have intake forms, making sure to ask about pronouns, or if any, or like the check boxes for like the genders and things like
yeah.
that. What else?
Yeah, these are all great, and yeah, I don't go to classes too much at my gym, but I'd be really curious now to take a look at the list and think like, is there one that has some sort of explicit or implicit like gender attached to it? So that's giving me a lot of things to think about myself. So
Yeah, it's definitely something that like it just kind of comes to it. That's just kind of, it just seems so, everything in the world is so binary. So like it seems like we just need to do it like that. And I've
yeah,
seen other gyms that have like challenges, which are like awesome ways to like uh what is it?
like motivate people, and yeah,
Yeah, motivate people and keep it more interactive, but they're often like men's and women's, or like at the end they'll be like, who out of the men did the
yeah,
best, or like who out of the women did so that
wow.
those sorts of things, finding ways to make it more for everyone.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's definitely interesting because yeah, I've seen that plenty of times through gyms that I've been in and whatnot, and yeah, exactly it. You just don't think about it, which is exactly why we're talking about this stuff today for sure. So, um, is there anything else in terms of that? Just sort of again, navigating the space on either side that you can think about as we've been talking about these topics?
Yeah, I think honestly one of the bigger things is to not make it such an uncomfortable conversation. Like if say you misgender someone, um and it happens, everybody, even trans folks, like misgender folks,
Mhm.
um all you got to do is be like whoop, and just like say the correct pronoun or ask if you don't know, and then
Yeah,
move on. It doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like it
yeah,
doesn't need to go like that. Because that just makes it a little bit more like, okay, it puts a little more labor on the other person. So it's just, move on and be like real chill about it,
yeah.
and focus on what you're there for, which is like to move. And I think that really helps like ease the, like this.
Attention, yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it don't make a big deal of it because it shouldn't be a big deal. It should just be, hey, this is, how someone's addressed and just, yeah, keep on going forward. So
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly.
Now, speaking of training, I'm going to ask you training. I'm going to pick your brain on training advice because I always love talking about this with professionals. in terms of what's something that you find that most people are missing from their workouts and from their nutrition. So like, I'm sure that this question might change depending on what week or month or whatever, you know, you ask. I know I would do the same thing, but is there anything in particular that like people come in through your door, they're definitely missing this?
Mobility.
Okay. Everyone's working the desk job. Everyone's, you know.
Yeah, everybody's range of motion is very limited and everybody's stressed the F out. So, you know, like mobility, I think, is definitely something that most folks are missing from their workout. Even though there are some folks who do a little warm up and like do a cool down, a lot of times it's more passive versus like active mobility work. And so those things I think are missing. And then in terms of nutrition, I think most people are not eating enough.
They're trying to starve themselves into,
right.
you know,
shape. Or they're just like, oh, you know, I'm supposed to be at the, and I'm like, whoa, hold on. You're tired.
Yeah.
You're probably not eating enough. And probably not enough protein, especially now that we're like increasing our movements and all of that. So yeah, I always tell everybody when they're after class, when they're leaving, I'm just like, don't forget to eat in the next couple hours, higher in the proteins.
That's perfect. Yeah, it becomes a vicious cycle because people want to lose weight. They cut calories usually a lot, and then they are totally exhausted and their workouts suffer and they just don't move around as much. And then it keeps on going, you know, in that terrible cycle, and they feel terrible the whole time, you know? So it's no wonder people don't want to do that. So
I'm like, let's not do that.
Yeah. Is there anything in specifically in terms of for the transgender athlete for workouts and nutrition that you tend to see that they're missing from the plan? I suppose it depends on goals, of course. So
yeah, I think a lot of it will depend on goals, but I do think even still, I can see a lot in like the ways that folks hold themselves as well. So I find that a lot of like trans masculine folks, and this isn't like this is just like a broad statement and observation that I'm making, not that this is like necessarily true, but from what I'm seeing, I think that a lot of trans masculine folk tend to hold a lot of like tension in their shoulders.
Okay.
Lots of rounded upper back tendencies. Mainly I think because of the hiding of our chest and just trying to hide in general. And like those things I can definitely notice. A lot of lordosis or like the booty pop in trans feminine folks. Because they're forcing that, you know, to like find that sort of like gender euphoria and like present. So working on those specific things just to like help them release that a little bit and be like, hey, you know, like here are better ways to help like your general posture and like your body sustainability for the future, and still find ways to like get your gender euphoria goals, body goals, without you suffering.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And yeah, it's obviously there's a lot of mental things there that are presenting themselves physically. So really interesting to hear you say that for all different types. For top exercise to kind of open up the shoulders, open up the chest, and kind of open up that area. Anything in particular that you really like?
I love the like shoulder dislocations up and overs with a resistance band or like a strap or even like a stick. Otherwise wall slides where you're just flush up against the wall and just slide in those. I do these with my folks all the time and they're always yelling at me.
We've got wall slides in a lot of the Nerve Fitness programs, and it like without fail, like every month or two, someone will post up and complain about them. I'm like, they are so good for everyone. But such a good thing for posture. That's it's always funny to hear you say that. So how about the booty pop? Anything dead bugs or something like that?
Ooh, dead bugs. Yeah, I love like a stability ball dead bug where you got to hold the stability ball instead of just doing regular. And it forces a little bit more like, everyone gets nervous. I'm like, it's just a ball. It's okay. bridges in general, and like
Yeah.
just general bracing, learning how to do that, like big belly energy is what I call
Yeah.
it. Just put that pressure out there all around.
Yeah, it is something that my cue is always tight gut, tight butt on that one because I just love things
Mm,
that rhyme. It's easy mnemonic, and yeah, people, everyone hasn't really been taught how to kind of get that braced throughout the midsection. Like
yeah,
I mean, forget lifting, just anything they do in life, picking up groceries, moving a couch, doing whatever it might be, you know. So yeah,
yeah. I
great
think
to hear that.
it's nice to like remind people, hey, keep that brace because you want to like keep that low back nice and safe,
Yeah.
especially as we get old.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about it more and more, yeah, each time for sure. So, no, I think that's fantastic. Now, I'm going to ask also, I know you don't like training goals per se, but your training intentions right now, your own personal training intentions. What are you kind of focused on right now?
I think something that I am continuously working on is everything. I want to be as like mobile and as like Gumby-esque as possible
Yeah,
so that I can do a lot of things at once. So like I
yeah,
love pole. Uh, and when I first started pole dancing, I was like, I am not flexible enough for this. To let you know, I was like doing a lot of strength oriented moves, but I wanted to get to a more like flow, like how do I make my body move a little bit more gracefully, like along
yeah,
the pole. um or like doing martial arts, you know, that requires a lot, like if I'm trying to get height, that requires a lot of hip mobility. um and I really want to get more into like parkour because I just love using my body
yeah,
and just my body. And I think
yeah.
I like to kind of discover the limits of like where I can go without like pushing too hard.
Of
Just like
course,
all the cool
yeah.
stuff I want to do with my body. So that's always my goal. It's like, how do I do it, anything I want with my body that I
Do
within
the
my
cool
limits,
stuff.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I like that when you were describing that, like each thing was like, this is an activity, and how do I kind of improve that activity? Because again, like exactly exploring what our bodies can do through these different activities. Just I can hear the excitement in your voice. You know, it's not a, oh well, I guess my goal is lose 10 pounds. No, it's like I'm excited to try all these different things, and that's I think that's really cool. You know, when we see that in our own clients and members,
Mhm.
that they do the same sort of stuff, and they explore what their bodies are capable of. So super cool on that one. My experience with all that stuff is limited in terms of I have taught some handstand stuff for some pole dancing classes, and I've done a little bit of parkour in the past. But I don't know if you feel the same way, but I, at some point with a lot of the different my goals, I needed to take a slight break because I realized that every single hobby I had was physical. And like the end of the day, I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm totally
Yeah,
exhausted. So yeah, I feel
I
the same
definitely
thing.
feel the same way. And also, like, there's a certain point where I'm like, I don't know if I do this wrong, if I land wrong,
Yeah.
if I'm gonna break something, you know. And I'm like, I gotta protect this face.
Yeah. I thought the same thing with I was practicing skateboarding for a while there, and I thought the same thing. I'm like, I'm going to land on my ankle, kind of funny. So yeah, we'll watch what we do. So
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Speaking of all these different activities, yeah, you have so many different other hobbies you've got listed out. Which I thought super interesting on this one. One thing I wanted to ask about, just in terms of the hobbies and just whatever fun conversation, cryptic puzzles. What exactly does that mean in terms of like your hobbies that you like to do?
I like to solve like treasure hunt type things, um, or like riddles, or
Yeah.
like just something that I need to really think about. I think more, why did I write cryptic puzzles at that time? That's a good
It was
question.
probably a
I was like,
nerdy
why did
thing or something
I?
like that.
That might have been a time when I was really into like puzzle boxes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like the design behind that. And like, I think that is something that I enjoy in any sort of activity.
Mhm.
Like climbing. Climbing is a really good example of that, although that's physical, but like it's still a
No, but
mental,
it's a puzzle. Yeah, it's a puzzle.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a mental challenge to like, okay, how do I make this work? And it's never just like brute forcing it. It's, you have to be
Yeah.
real like like intentional. And I think
It's
that's
good. There's good life lessons. Yeah. Good life lessons there about like so many people, if we want to spin it back to the fitness world, will try to brute force something, whether it's, you know what, I have to get in shape, so I have to do this, or I have to lose weight, so I have to do this. And it's more a matter of coming at it from sometimes in a atypical different way in order to be able to kind of get through that puzzle and yeah, actually enjoy the progress and enjoy the journey, as it were. So
yeah, I think
that's awesome.
enjoying the journey is like the most important part. I think
Yeah.
if you're not ready to like have fun doing it, then it's not going to be fun.
Yeah, it's not going to be sustainable either. People, you're not going to
Yeah,
keep up something if you hate doing it. So
right.
that's
Yeah.
yeah. Is there any advice? Because I have heard this from clients as well too. Is there any that say I hate this exercise, that exercise? Is there any advice that you have for getting or helping people to discover maybe what they love to do or some sort of activity that they enjoy?
Yeah, I think what I like to ask folks is, what do you like to do? Like, period. Like, what do you really like to do? Like, when do you feel the most like chill in your brain, or like you're most excited? Um, and then kind of going from there. And if I want to get a little more specific, then I'm like, out of the workouts that we've done, what has been the most interesting to you? And why?
Yeah.
And then kind of like go from there in terms
Yeah.
of
Build off that.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And even if someone's not using a coach right now, just for them to ask those same questions, like of all the workouts I've done in the past week, month, year, what have I liked? What activities have I liked? Yeah, that's a good sort of self-reflection there too. So,
Yeah.
with before I forget as well too, with cryptic puzzles, have you seen that book or heard of that book, The Secret Treasure Hunt? Have you seen this thing at all?
Mm-mm.
It was I'll send you the links afterwards. I think this came out a couple decades ago, but essentially like each page of this book had like this like elaborate artwork, and they were like treasure maps for like real
Ooh.
life treasure to like find, like you find like treasure boxes and then like you turn it in for like a gemstone. The point was is like a real life treasure. And I think they did an episode of what's that show, Expedition Unknown with Josh Gates. They did it
Mhm.
on the book. I think they might have found one. Anyway, the point is, yeah, that was something I'll
That
throw
sounds
your way
awesome,
because yeah,
actually.
I think it's incredible to be like, this is an actual book I can go out and explore
Yeah,
treasure
and
with as
just
well
like
too.
go
So
do a thing. Yeah, that's
yeah,
so
exactly.
cool.
Yeah, I love that stuff. That stuff is just so creative. So, all right, Minky, I wanted to give you a chance to be able to kind of talk about any sort of projects or any sort of things that were interesting to you right now. Anything that you care to talk about?
Yeah, so right now, because our gym is sliding scale, and I have like a pretty strict, like no one turned away for lack of funds policy, we sponsor a lot of athletes and do a lot of sliding scale for a lot of the folks that come into the gym. Right now, we're currently fundraising and trying to get more like corporate money, as well as like individual donors who are able to like donate to Project Liftyboi, which is our kind of like funding for sponsoring members to come in for
Yeah,
free, and like they get a membership and they just get to come in and like move their bodies because they deserve that access. So
that's
those
fantastic.
are primarily focused on queer, Black, and Indigenous people of color. So
Cool. So we'll finish off with some lightning round questions as well too. So yeah, exactly. What's your favorite exercise at the moment?
oh God, what is
You forget what all exercises are wiped out of your
my
brain.
what is an exercise actually?
Favorite
Uh
movement, anything? Yep.
Splits. I think I'm really enjoying doing the splits right now. Front
Uh,
splits.
front splits. Yeah. That training was always rough for me.
Yeah.
Next question, go-to karaoke song.
It's changed a lot because of
Of
my
course.
voice changes, but nowadays anything Frank Sinatra usually is my range.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So like Fly Me to the Moon is
Yeah.
probably the easiest, like, yes. Or
I love it.
Elvis. Yeah.
I need to see the new Elvis movie, but no, that's awesome. All right. Favorite true crime podcast.
Ooh, Rotten Mango.
Okay. I'll have to pass it on to my wife. She showed me a couple of podcasts, but I have not listened to too many of them. But we did go to My Favorite Murder live one
Oh
time, which
yeah,
was,
they're really good too. I
yeah.
just got onto Rotten Mango, but it's by this like podcaster YouTuber, Stephanie Sue.
Okay.
Great. Really good
Okay.
storyteller.
I'll check that out. Thanks for the recommendation. And then final question, best weapon in the apocalypse.
Uh, I think no matter what, I'm always going to want a knife,
Okay.
some sort. I think like a mid-sized knife, perhaps.
Well, one that's got some reach, but still has some like stopping
Yeah.
power, as it
Actually,
were. So,
no. You know what? Maybe like a woldol is what it's called in Korea. It's like a long staff with like a blade at the end.
okay.
So a staff with a blade attached to it.
Stick with it. Stick with a knife. Gotcha.
Yeah, stick with a knife.
I always thought if we're going to go into mythical weapons, I always thought the lightsaber would be the best weapon because
Oh
you don't
yeah.
have to reload that thing. But yeah, that was that's always in the back of my head. So Minky, thank you so much. This was fantastic, a lot of fun. Hopefully everyone listening got a lot of great takeaways, just a lot of great stuff about body positivity and just being comfortable in your own skin and your own self, which is very challenging, I understand. But yeah, thank you so much again, and
Thank
take
you,
care,
Jim.
everyone. No problem. See ya.
Bye.
Well, what's up, my fellow nerds? Coach Jim here, and coming up is International Transgender Day of Visibility on March 31st. And in order to really honor that day, we wanted to reach out to athletes and fitness professionals in that space to ask them overall fitness advice and, of course, specific advice to the transgender athlete. So I am pleased to be joined today by Liam Taylor. So give a little wave. I'll read Liam's intro here. Again, this sounds very similar to a lot of stuff I did growing up too. Liam was a high school powerlifting champion, a Division II competitive rugby player, is now an NASM certified personal trainer, and coached himself through a 150-pound weight loss transformation. That is not a typo, 150-pound weight loss transformation. We'll definitely talk about that. His mission is to uplift and inspire anyone who feels like a misfit or like they've been told that they can't or that they're not good enough. We can all achieve great things if we put our minds to it and are willing to make the necessary changes to improve our lives. So fantastic, Liam. That's again, thank you so much for joining us today. Jumping right into it, and something right in your intro that achieving great things if we put our minds to it. What are some of the things that you've seen people kind of take, those steps that they take in order to be able to really kind of feel that and kind of get in that proper mindset?
Yeah, I think that's something that everybody kind of has to get out of their own way on. Like, that's not gender specific or orientation specific. That's just human beings. I think a lot of times we put boundaries and limitations on ourselves before other people do.
Yeah.
And so just remembering that all humans have a struggle, all humans have a journey. We're just a part of that. Every individual is on our own little journey and our own little road. So just like being able to take a step back and kind of maybe look at everything from a macro view, like instead of like hyper focusing on yourself, just like being able to take the beat and evaluate everything and all the moving pieces and not so much isolated on ourselves, because oftentimes I find that we tell ourselves we don't have time, we don't have energy. My family needs me, I've got work instead, but all of those things are self-limiters. Those are not things that are anyone else or anything else can impose on us. Those are things that we do ourselves. So I think that's a first major step for anyone who's looking to start any sort of a life transformation. Doesn't matter if it's weight loss, fitness, whatever, is to stop telling yourself you can't and to start telling yourself, what if, or how can I? And start asking those questions in a more positive or a more open-ended way to yourself, and stop telling yourself, nah, because if we just assume no, then we never try. So I think that's the first biggest thing for most people, is just to acknowledge that limitations are self-created. So
I love that. And what I've found with a lot of clients is that those conversations they are having with themselves are so automatic. Like, they've been having those conversations with themselves for so long that like they don't even realize they're saying it sometimes. Is there any way that you can think, obviously if you're coaching someone, you can, catch it and kind of call them out on it. I've done that myself. But if someone maybe doesn't have a coach right now, like how's a way they can really kind of catch themselves saying some of these limiting sort of beliefs?
That's a really great question. I think I try to be awareness, like related, just like to listen to the things that I'm saying, to like evaluate my thoughts. It's, you know, like everybody has thoughts. What you choose to do with them, you can either focus on them or let them go, you know. A lot of that sort of thing. It's really just a matter, I think, of enforcing that standard for yourself, like if just holding yourself to that commitment. Like once you acknowledge, or once you start to realize, I tell myself I can't do something a lot, or maybe a friend has been like, you say you can't do things a lot, or maybe they like, my friends, they know the way that I communicate. They'll kind of jokingly be like, hey, you just said you can, and then wait for me to hear myself. So
they know how to push your buttons. They know how to push your buttons. It sounds like,
yeah, to get the response that we're looking for,
Hilarious.
you know. So, but you know, once you've got that awareness and you've heard yourself, or you know that you're doing those things, you're prone to those things. I used to keep a list in my phone. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just like in the notes. I'd just be like, hey, I told myself I can't do this. And then it was something kind of fun to like go back and be like, hi, I did that. I told myself I couldn't do that 2 months ago, and here I am doing it. And just keep track of it. You know, like I used to not be able to do 30 push-ups in a row. It was my goal one year to get to where I could do 30 push-ups in a row, clean form. Because I told myself I couldn't do it. I capped out at 15, can't do it, whatever. And I didn't even try to drop to my knees and then like I didn't even try to like find a way to meet myself where I was at. I would have done that for other people. I would have done that for my friends or my clients, my teammates, whatever. But for myself, I held myself to too high of a standard. And I feel like that's pretty much what every person does. Like it's one thing for somebody else, but me, I got to be perfect. And I think once we get out of that perfectionism, we get out of our own lane, you know, we can start making some positive progress.
Absolutely. There's, oh my gosh, there's a quote, I'm gonna have to look it up later, but it's by Steinbeck. I don't even know whoever, some famous author who's smarter than me is saying something that like, when we now that we don't have to be perfect, we can be good, or we can start our journey or something like that. But
right, exactly.
Same exact thing. And it is funny you're saying that, like, we hold ourselves to different standards. And I think that I'll tell this to clients all the time. The conversations like they have with themselves and like the harsh criticism they have with themselves, how would you talk to a friend? Would you talk to a friend the same way? Like, hopefully not. Like,
exactly. You may not have very many friends.
Exactly. maybe that's the problem. But exactly. I like that. I like that awareness, and I like what you're saying, of course, about kind of taking that step back, because so many times I think we're just driving forward in such a harsh way that we don't take that step back. We don't look for that awareness. We don't look for those, again, conversations that we're having with ourselves. So that's that's an awesome way, because I'm sure you've seen this the same thing. You could give someone the perfect workout plan and the perfect nutrition plan, but if their mindset's a little bit kind of skewed one way or the other, it's going to be hard for them to implement anything, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So no, I love that. And it is such it's an overlooked aspect of just kind of getting your mind in the right headspace, as it were, because everyone always wants, what's the perfect workout? What's the perfect nutrition in that regard? So I love that. Now, in terms of other challenges and kind of swinging things over, because of course, like I said, we want to talk about it with the Day of Visibility coming up. You sent me this fantastic video talking about building confidence in the gym, and for transgender athletes, building confidence in the gym. You went through a lot of different things for a transgender athlete who does feel ready, and we understand that maybe not everyone will feel ready, or maybe never wants to. But for those who do feel maybe ready to put their foot in the water, step into the gym, what sort of advice could you possibly give in terms of just navigating that scene?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to wait till you're ready, try not to force anything. That's not to say don't try. It took me a couple months of like walking in, walking out, walking by. I don't know, when I had gotten really, really heavy between my rugby career and transitioning, I injured out of rugby. I tore my ACL, MCL, and meniscus. So I got real heavy.
Wait for the full trifecta of the knee thing.
Of course. Yeah, I got to do it all at once. So after I injured out, I was really depressed, let myself put on a whole bunch of weight that I'd already lost, and then some. And that was where I really had to like come back from. So acknowledging, giving yourself some space, like that's okay. But like you said, if you're ready and you just don't know where to start, I think finding a nice, supportive or like a comfortable environment to work out is a nice place to start.
Yeah.
As y'all can see, I'm at Planet Fitness right now. I know a lot of people don't think it's a very good gym, but I will say the no judgment zone, judgment-free zone, all that kind of stuff seems to apply to most of the locations I've been to.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of problems, especially anymore. But even when I was early on in my transition, like I would very rarely have incidents happen at Planet Fitness, and I would assume the worst. And then as some time had passed, if people who I thought were like staring at me funny or whatever came to approach me, they'd usually be like, "Hey bro, I saw you smashing chest. What is that exercise called? How did you?" It was more like they were like trying to figure out what my workout was.
Yeah.
Not so much being like, "Is that a girl?"
No, that's great. Yeah, I do that all the time with people. Like, I try not to. But I'm like, yeah, well, that's an interesting exercise. Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
that's great. And, yeah. Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, I also just, and this is super easy, hoodies. Hoodies are your friend.
Okay.
Hoodies are big and they can cover up a lot of things if you're feeling dysphoric or you're feeling self-conscious. I mean, this applies to even cis people who maybe have extra weight that they're self-conscious about. Like, wear oversized clothes to the gym, because half of the people here are already wearing oversized clothes anyway.
Yeah.
So you're gonna fit right in.
No, yeah, exactly.
Of it, and you can mask everything that you don't want to look at or hyper focus on, while you're also achieving that workout to make the progress that you want to see. So
yeah,
I think hoodies are a really good quick way. And I talked a lot about this in my video I sent you. Hoodies and headphones. Just get in your own zone, get in your own lane. Don't let other people bother you, and focus on yourself and
put the work in. Yeah.
Here to accomplish. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked as well too. You were talking about a couple different things, and I'll try to not to let my brain scatter on what I'm thinking. One, you were talking about, like, for people that do have dysphoria, it's okay if you need to take a break from the gym. If the gym just becomes like an overwhelming ball of feelings, it's like, it's okay to step back. You said, like, the gym's going to be there tomorrow, it's going to be there next week. That's fine. Like, we all kind of go up and down in terms of how we feel. Is that something you still feel, or are you just like 100% confident kicking down the door every day?
No, 100%, man. I take breaks all the time. Actually, I took a week or two off recently. I've just been back in the gym for like 2 or 3 weeks now.
Cool.
My wife and I are about to move. I work far away from my house now. So like sometimes just life happens, and you got to do life things, and then you can always come back to your fitness things or find ways to integrate fitness things into your life things. There was a really great post that you guys put up today on Nerd Fitness about, hey, you say you don't have time. Hey, that's great. You found out that this time doesn't work for you, but what about 2 hours from now? What about after dinner? What about before work? You can find ways to work that into your schedule. And that sort of mentality, I think, also really works well with dysphoria, because I hear so often, especially in the trans mask community, not so much, I don't know about trans women. I haven't heard a lot of ladies get onto this tangent, but I've heard a lot of guys get on this tangent of like, I don't feel good enough to go to the gym, but if I don't go to the gym, then I'm not going to get where I want. And so it's like a constant cycle of like nothing. And I completely understand where they're coming from. But there's a great news. You can do a lot at home with literally no equipment. I always tell people on my account, and I try to post this reminder on my wall feed at least once every month or so, like, all it takes. I lost 60 pounds, my first 60 pounds, 8 minutes a day, 3 days a week.
Wow.
That's it.
I changed
my diet. I did change my diet, but I was doing 8 minutes of calisthenics, HIIT training 3 days a week. And that was it. Because as we know, that HIIT training keeps your metabolism elevated, even when you're not in the gym, incorporating lots of legs into your workout, hitting those larger muscle groups that are going to keep your blood flowing, keep that metabolism elevated. All those things are ways to like life hack, essentially, your fitness. It's like, here's a little hack, there's no shortcut of course. I hate to say that in a way that's misinterpreted, but you got to put it in the work. But that can be, you know, a total of 30 minutes a week at first, if you're not, you know. So there's always a way.
I think it's a fantastic reminder because, yeah, I mean, so many people, they'll start off and maybe they haven't been doing anything, and then they'll immediately jump into an hour, 5 days a week because they saw it, you know, someone else did that way, and then they're sore and they can't move. And then that's very demoralizing. So exactly it. Just take those small, like, sustainable steps and then kind of build from there. And yeah, there's no exercise police kicking down your door saying you have to work out for an hour or it doesn't count, you know.
Quite adversely, there is adrenal fatigue.
People tend to take too far in the other direction. No, absolutely. And it's sad when people have all that energy and the motivation, and then they go way too far in one direction because they think they need to do that. But yeah, to your point, like, 8 minutes a day, a couple of times a week and then that change in nutrition is a huge huge change, man. 60 pounds is that's a good head start, I suppose, or whatever.
Oh, you know? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So no, I love that. The other thing that in terms of all the advice that you're giving as well too in navigating the gym scene, another thing that I really like that you said in the video, and I think this is always good whether you are giving advice or getting advice, is just kind of checking any sort of privilege you're bringing to the conversation. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So in the video that I sent, and it's on my YouTube account for anybody who wants to go back and check
we can link in the show notes.
Yeah, it's like a 15-minute rant at some point, but
no, I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic.
That's good. But you know, I went from being perceived in society as an unfit, fat woman, and that has its own stigma in society, and I know what that life and that lived experience feels like, and I know that it's distinctly different than the way I was perceived the second I had a beard or the second my voice dropped. Even being perceived as an unfit fat man is different than being perceived as an unfit fat woman. So like just being able to feel the change and feel the way people treat you and see it and hear it and other people notice it. And so like a constant, like, did I just imagine that? And my wife's like, no. But just, and I think I used an example on my video of like buying tires. I was the first time I was like, what? Like,
like you don't need tires.
It's just like, how much money have I wasted on tires and gas? Like, it's like, but,
and that's just one small segment of life, you know. And in general, wow.
Yeah, and then walking into the gym, you know, when I started in gyms, I was still very androgynous. My voice hadn't quite dropped. I maybe had like 4 hairs on my lip. And people definitely stared at me. Guys would come over and be like, excuse me, you can't lift that. Not, do you need help? Not, are you sure? Not just like a straight up, you can't do that. Because maybe they couldn't or something. But like, I've never once had a dude walk up to me in any circumstance and just flat out be like, you can't do that. That's never happened to me once I transitioned, you know? So I try to keep in frame of mind that the way that society perceives me now is just that. It's the way that I'm interpreted. It's not who I am to myself, because I'm only living inside here. But I do see the way everything's different. So I know now, because it's so much easier, you know, 6 years into this fun adventure, that like, you know, I can just walk into a gym. I can just go to a locker room. I can just go to a swimming pool and knock out a couple laps. And granted, you know, I'm cut from here to here and I have a giant scar, but people also see my excess skin, and I'm pretty sure most people assume that I'm a cis male who lost a lot of weight.
Gotcha.
I've never once had anybody who saw my scars be like, are you trans? I have had people walk up to me and be like, how much weight did you lose? And that's the only thing that makes me prompt to think that nobody is looking at me going, that man's trans. Like, it would take other trans people clock me, or like other queers who are aware of the signs and maybe
of like top surgery and things like that. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. So
that might be different, but overall, like in general society, no one is coming up and putting limitations on me. No one's coming up and giving unsolicited advice. No one's telling me, excuse me, sir, you don't belong in that locker room. Like, most people are just like, oh, am I in your way? Were you using the station? Can I wipe this off for you? Let me get out of your way, big guy. So I mean, it's just a completely different situation.
Yeah, I think it's great that you maintain that sort of perspective of like, hey, my experience now feels different and is different. So again, advice that I give is different. And I guess kind of the overall takeaway for a lot of that is, if someone's watching this video, they're getting different pieces of advice. But again, if their situation is different, if they're living in a different part of the country, if they present differently, any number of things might change these pieces of advice. So again, it's okay if the gym is not quite, a good situation for you right now, correct? Is that kind of what we're saying too?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I wouldn't tell somebody who's living in Florida and surrounded by that to like throw all caution to the wind. Do you take up all the space you want with no sort of awareness around your surroundings. Like that would be dangerous. So
exactly. No, good to know. And now we're talking, of course, about a lot of things that, your experience and like, what you've done and wear a hoodie and things like that. Now, of course, it's a two-sided conversation. So it's not just a matter of like, what can the athlete do to feel more comfortable? Flip it around. What can a gym owner, okay, if gym owners are watching, what can a gym owner, a personal trainer, someone who, of course, works all the time in the gym, and just another gym member, what can they do to make the transgender athlete feel more comfortable in the gym?
So it's a really great question. And honestly, no one's ever asked me that. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
But I think the most important thing that we can all do is give people the space to just be themselves. Like, if you see a problem arising, don't be afraid to be like, hey, is everything okay over here? Or like, can I, if you if you see like an altercation or you see like an aggressive thing happening around you, there is a trans woman at my gym who works out very regularly. She's usually there when I get there and leaves right before I leave. So I know she's a regular, but she changes in the men's locker room. And I know that's because she was run out of the women's locker room. Okay. So like, if I'm there and I see people start to give her shit, I move myself next to her station. Yeah. I just want to make sure she's okay. She probably thinks I'm a creep. I've never once talked to her.
That's why she's leaving. And so she's like, Liam's coming in again. Time to go.
Oh, there's that guy. That's that guy. Okay. But yeah, I just, she's there working on herself. She's there putting in the work every day. She's in there killing it. But that's not what other people are perceiving her doing. Like I see the looks. Like I remember that. I remember what it feels like to be the person everyone's kind of like, they're doing, But I think just offering, like, if you feel confident enough to like introduce yourself or strike up a conversation, or maybe you're both going to grab the sanitizer spray at the same time, or you're waiting for the same station, just introduce yourself, or just like let them know like you're a friendly. Like you don't have to say anything
overt or whatever.
Like intrusive. Just be like, oh hey, like I see you killing it over there, that's awesome. Like let me know if you need a spot sometime or something like that. I think something just like as open as that can like then open up that door of like, okay, well that person was cool enough to like talk to me, so like I guess if I had an issue, like I know that at least one person seems to have my corner.
That's fantastic. Yeah, like for any ally, just exactly small talk. It doesn't have to be some gigantic gesture at the moment. It's just exactly it, like making them feel safe and that, hey, I can talk to this person, I can turn to this person. So
just I think it comes down to just making people feel like humans, because we are humans, and just having like really regular human conversations and interactions with each other. So like if you wouldn't feel weird talking to like just some dude bro about, oh, hey bro, I saw you squatting that out. Like, great job. Why not just take the same moment to be like, hey girl, I saw you squatting. That was awesome. Like, you're pulling some crazy weight over there or whatever. Like,
I'll do that. I'll do that with anyone at the gym. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Like, so, yeah. Like there's
Like,
people
kudos to
always
you
doing
guys.
amazing things, like, front to back. So I love that.
For sure.
Now, in terms of like kind of jumping up to like the gym owner, has there been any, I mean, again, Planet Fitness, as you mentioned, you felt it very inclusive and very safe. But has there been any, maybe even Planet Fitness or other gyms where there was a gym policy or something of the layout of the gym that just had like gave you a little friction, maybe not malicious, but I don't know. Was there anything in particular that you've seen there?
Yeah, I've had there's a community gym that I like to go to in my hometown a couple times when I can. And they only have like big cattle call showers and stuff like that.
Okay.
I mean, it's an old gym. It is what it is, but it's like 20 spigots in a wall. So obviously that's not very welcoming to anybody who may feel self-conscious in the first place. Like, I posted up some pictures in that shower on my Instagram, just basically taking up space and telling other trans folks to feel confident taking up space if you feel safe doing that.
Of course.
We don't know anybody anything. And I wanted to use that locker room moment for that because it is such like a vulnerable, open, exposed area. But that gym, every interaction I've had with staff, they don't know I'm trans. I don't think they would care, but every interaction I've had with them, they're open, they're welcoming, they're talking to people they know. Oh, hey, Susie's got that basketball game tonight. Are you going to hit that jump shot? Oh, hey, I saw you hit that free throw. They're always super like positive and encouraging. They're really welcoming to people with special needs, anything like that. So I've never once felt like that would be a place that I would have a problem. Because if there were to be an issue, I would be able to just walk right up to the desk and be like, yo, this is crazy back here. And they've got security cameras everywhere. They can check it out,
Yeah. That's great.
But I think, just being able to have that open dialogue. I mean, I know talking to the people at the front desk may not be the most exciting. Maybe you're gung-ho to get to the floor, but if you do feel self-conscious or you do feel nervous, getting to know some of the people on staff is really, really helpful. I know that's what I did when I lived in Texas, back in Austin. I happened to go to a gym that had a whole slew of other queer people there, like rainbows around and other people with scars and various degrees of androgyny happening. So I never really felt scared there. But I went to like 4 other gyms in that town before I found that location and decided that was going to be where I worked out every day. So.
And Austin is always like that sort of weird dichotomy, isn't it? Where it is, let's like, super encouraging, inclusive, and then we're wearing cowboy boots to squat. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Right. I literally had to, it's funny you say that. I had to send a message to the Planet Fitness gym owners because a guy was over there squatting in cowboy boots with his 9mm strapped. I was like, what the? Like taking pictures of this guy, and I'm like,
wow.
Planet Fitness, what is happening?
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. So I'm saying it as a punchline, but you're living the reality sometimes with that. So no, but like in terms of talking to the staff, I think that's great. And then like you can kind of get a sense of are they helpful, are they friendly, and then I guess flip side, there might be some times where you talk to the staff and if you just get some sort of weird vibe, you're out the door, right?
Left. Yeah, I definitely had that instance too. The gym that my wife had been attending, that was technically closest to our house in Austin. And she's just a normal looking lady, So nobody ever really had given her any sort of issues or problems or anything like that. But the few times that I'd gone to that specific location by myself, I'd gotten a couple of weird looks and stares, and somebody kind of followed me into a bathroom once, and I was like, what's about to happen? Nothing happened. It was just weird. So,
but even still, even the fact that you feel that uneasy, is scary. I'm sure, very scary.
Well, and then when I went to the desk, and I went to go chit chat with some people, and they're saying things and have lots of opinions, and I was like, you get out my phone. Oh, there's a Planet Fitness 15 minutes away. I'm there. So switch it
no, that again, trust your gut is sort of the takeaway there for sure. So swinging to more back to training talk as well too. And again, not to bury the lead because we talked about it in the intro, but your weight loss transformation is, again, that's outstanding. 60 pounds with, half an hour a week or whatnot. In terms of people that, because again, we have actually a lot of people in our community that are looking to lose 100 plus pounds. What do people tend to do right when they're getting into that transformation, like that large transformation? And what do people tend to really miss? Like, oh man, they should have been doing this a year ago, with that. Thoughts all around there?
Yeah, I think the biggest things that you can do to get it right are hydrate, and listen to your body when you need to rest. Like, don't push it. Definitely take those breaks, because you don't want to, like we talked about earlier, go too hard, too fast, and then injure out. And then I think the biggest thing to do, I always call it, and I know a lot of people do this, is the 80-20 split. Like, if you're 80% on, and you can have the 20%, like, let slide, kind of cheat diet or whatever it applies to. Yeah. But making sure that 80% of the time you're holding yourself accountable, and you're holding yourself to the standard, like to your own goals, those check marks that you've set for yourself, or your coach has set for you, or whatever the situation may be. Because no one's perfect. Giving yourself that 20% space to fall down, fall off the horse, as long as you get back up, dust off, and get back on the trail. That doesn't mean, well, I missed a workout this weekend, now on Monday I need to go for 4 hours and do 2 workouts. Don't do that. That's dumb. Don't do it. Missed it. You missed it. It's fine. It's in the past. Just pick up where you're at, keep on moving, find a good pace, and don't beat yourself up too much. I think I spent a lot of time beating myself up when I'd fall off. Yeah. And I recently found the measurement charts I was keeping as cleaning out my storage unit. Yeah. And I found my measurement charts from the first like 60 pounds or so that I lost, first 20 inches or whatever, that I was something crazy, and just all those things, and like the little side note, margin notes. I think what I found most interesting is how severe my notes were to myself. Like, well, I did this, I missed this, I ate before I measured, I did it, like basically like stupid me. And then towards the end of it, by the time I'm on that next page and I'm hitting goal weights and I'm at this certain waist size and I'm maintaining, all those notes are like, great job, let's work on sleep, is more of like the positive affirmation, and as opposed to you stupid, like whatever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's great. And that's, I mean, again, it's what we were talking about earlier. It's like, would you talk to a friend like that? No, you hopefully wouldn't. And being more positive in that respect, and not saying we need to be pie in the sky with like how we talk to ourselves, but just more compassionate, really, I think it definitely helps for sure.
Wasn't it plants? Didn't they do this study on like house plants where they put 2 identical plants right next to each other in a window, and every day they talked shit to one of the plants and they talked real sweet to the other plant.
Your squat's terrible.
And the plant, right, exactly. And then the plant that they were talking shit to died, just fizzled and died, is eating the same stuff, drinking the same water, in the same light, the same amount of time. And the plant that they were like, hey, plant, you're doing a really good job. Look at these pretty leaves. That plant flourished and lived. So it's something to be said about that energy for sure. I think that we feel that on like a cellular level that we're just like not even conscientious of sometimes. So not allowing yourself to be your worst enemy. I know it's really hard because I'm pretty good at it. but I think it's really important.
In terms of that, like the one line I heard I always like is, if being hard on yourself worked, it would have worked by now, because people are hard on themselves for so many years. And the other thing that you mentioned earlier, which I want to circle back to, which I see time and time again with both fitness and nutrition, is when someone misses a workout or when someone has a cheat meal or whatever you want to call it, an indulgent meal, they then crank the steering wheel hard in the other direction. I missed the workout, so now I need to do 3 hours of working out. I ate this certain thing on my diet. Now I need to starve myself. I need to have some diet air for next meal or whatever it might be. So I love what you're talking about just, hey, you know what? Like, acknowledge if something happened, and then let's just keep on moving forward rather than punishing ourselves for what we did or didn't do, for sure.
Exactly.
So no, I love that. I love that. On the topic of workouts and nutrition as well too, is there anything that you feel like people just, general population that you've, seen at the gym or worked with, do you feel like there's anything that people are missing from their workouts or missing from their nutrition, like general population?
Missing from workouts, I feel like is I don't see people stretching. I don't see people doing mobility work.
Everyone says mobility. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree. But this is, yeah, I've heard this plenty of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will spend like my first 30 minutes at the gym on a foam roller and see people like finish a workout by the time I'm like finished stretching. And I'm like, how's that going to feel tonight, bro? Like,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. No, I understand.
But we've all been there. We made those mistakes. I mean, I was young and I would skip stretching too. So I get it. But that's why I don't now.
No, yeah, you learn real fast. And on the same sort of note, the stretching and mobility, just the warm-up sessions as well too, same sort of thing too. Like, you know, I'll be in a squat rack and warming up, and then yeah, exactly to your point, like there'll be some youngin half my age, literally half my age, get in the squat rack, throw on just 45, 45, 45, and then squat and leave. I'll be like, oh man, you'll learn soon enough.
Yeah, those muscles are not going to be very happy with you tomorrow. So
exactly.
I had a friend come out and we worked out together where we didn't really have much of a plan or an agenda. We were just like, what are we going to hit? I don't know. And so we're like, oh, let's hit some chests. It's always fun and easy.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, let's go hit a warm up. My warm up was long and extensive. My buddy was very over. By the time we made it to the bench rack, like I don't push very heavy weights on a Smith machine. It's jacks up my elbows and my wrists. So I just go for volume over there, but he was over there pushing some weight. He was setting PRs and he was like, bro, I've never lifted this much weight. I was like,
because you actually did a warm up. You didn't just jump into 225 or whatever half the people do. So
he was like, man, this long warm up actually was a really good idea. I was like,
that's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Made him a believer. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Exactly.
Absolutely love it.
And if you're watching this, I love you, friend.
We can cut this out if you want. If we, no.
That's all right. He's a good sport.
So speaking of like benching and all this stuff like that, and you know, various things like that. What have your training goals and intentions been this year? What's been kind of driving your fire?
Yeah, I actually last year I had a coach I paid to keep me on track. My work had experienced a wildfire at the very, very end of 2021.
Oh, wow.
And it really threw off my day-to-day routine, everything. I was working across multiple states for about 6 or 7 months and just constantly commuting, and I didn't have the time or energy to write up my own plans or anything like that. So I enlisted a coach and we started with strength training, and I was able to put on 6 centimeters around my chest.
Wow.
I increased my bench by 45 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, like I needed.
It's amazing what
coach.
coaching can do, right?
Yeah, he was just like, Liam, stop skipping bullshit. Stop adding curls. Just do what I tell you. And you know what? When I started doing what he's telling me to do, it worked. So
yeah. That's the hardest thing.
Yeah, it's like I'm like watching myself do everything I tell people not to do, and I'm like, this is fun. But like,
the coach will push you towards the exercises you don't want to do that are better for you. Yeah, everything throughout.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's funny.
Exactly. So I did the strength training, put on some good size, and then I spent the rest of the year kind of cutting that down just to see what we've done. Mm-hmm. This year I'm moving, so it's been pretty lax. I've been trying to maintain. Once I get moved into my new place, which is coming next month,
Cool.
I'll have a fitness center on site, so I'll be able to knock out some stuff, even on days that I may not have time or energy to come out to a gym or something like that. And I've mostly just been working on my athleticism this year. I'm a big guy. Cutting usually gets boring for me, and I get. Like I said, I was a powerlifter, so old habits. Yeah. I'm okay with my little keg. Okay, so like, gotta keep a little something there.
It's the power. It's the column of power. I think I've heard like Captain Kirk say or something like that. Yeah. So
exactly. But I've just really been working on my athleticism and stuff like that. I've been kind of delving back into some of my rugby style workouts, more well-rounded calisthenics, hits, cycles, on the timer, and then I've really been focusing on not spending more than an hour working out. Okay. So that doesn't include my warm up or stretching and anything like that. I don't keep the timer on for that. So when I get here, I stretch until I'm warm, foam roll, take care of all that.
Yeah.
And then, I jump in and do 2,000 meter row sprints. So I do like 500 meters at a time into burpees and air squats. And then before the timer on the row resets, I get back on. So it usually is about a 30-second break around between cycles.
Cool.
So I start with that, and then I just kind of decide. I usually do upper, lower, a push-pull leg split for the week, and then a full body day. So I'm doing about 4 days a week right now. So that usually looks like chest, shoulder. Well, I split my shoulders up, so I do chest and then anterior delts, and then triceps, and then on pull day, back, do rear delts, and shrugs and all that kind of stuff, bicep curls, and then legs. Of course, I've actually been like earlier this year I was doing legs every day, so I was doing like 2 or 3 leg exercises worked into all of my workouts just to see. I never had ACL repaired, so just kind of walking around without that ACL for years. But sometimes I have to be a little gentle with it. So at the top of the year, I'd been kind of fizzling out on like a for sure leg day. I've been splitting it up, and I was doing quads and then hams and glutes and calves. And
I like with all this description you were talking about, and I think this is also another really important thing to just to kind of impart on everyone, that you were adjusting things based on, of course, your previous injuries and parts of the body that you needed to adjust for, but then also just like, hey, you know what, I felt like doing this, I felt like doing this, like that's fine. Like we don't have to like stick with one workout and just keep it going till doomsday. It's like, hey, you know what? Like I've switched plenty of times different ways I'm training just based on my interest. Like, I'm a little bored of this. Let's switch to this. I'm a little bored of that. Let's switch to that. So like you always have to tell people like it's okay to switch around and try something else. And I want to be a little more athletic. We've had plenty of people in our community jump into parkour and martial arts and stuff like that, and just go crazy. So no, it's definitely something to remind yourself of for sure. So no, definitely. Now, again, you mentioned, of course, and I wanted to swing back to it, Planet Fitness. So I think it gets, maybe because of the hilarious commercials. I think they're funny commercials of the, I pick things up and I put them down,
So what do you do for a living?
I lift things up and put them down.
And there's sort of like sometimes a weird air around Planet Fitness. But when I first moved in the area where now I had a Planet Fitness membership for a year plus, I think they're fantastic. I mean, not to make this a Planet Fitness commercial, but and any other things that you found that are like really helpful for people, maybe even people that are, again, intimidated by the gym and going to Planet Fitness?
Yeah, I think it's a really good beginner spot. I mean, looking around right now and I'm seeing like maybe 3 seasoned lifters, and everybody else is kind of like, is this a machine? How does this work? It's like, what does this treadmill do? So, it's a really good place to get your feet wet, if you don't really know what you're doing. They also have like trainers on staff that are here just to answer your questions. So
amazing,
there's no reason to like walk up to a machine and be like, I would really love to like know how to do this, but I don't really know how. That's fine. Go find the asshole in a yellow shirt because they'll put you
just grab a staff member. So
it says trainer on their back. Just grab that person and I'll show you. So I think it's a good spot for things like that because that person's on call for that purpose. You don't have to pay anything extra to get a couple questions answered. I think that's really helpful, especially, oftentimes, I know this applies to everyone, but especially trans folks, we're usually pretty broke because our money's going to our doctors, our hormones, our surgeries, our everything else like that. So having something affordable and readily available is really convenient. And another reason I really like Planet Fitness, like I said, I've moved several times. Last year, they had me working everywhere from South Dakota, Wyoming, and Colorado. I've been sent over to Nebraska. Like I started in Texas. I've worked out in Mexico, but it's all through Planet Fitness because I have my black cards. It's like $20 a month, and I can go to any one of their gyms, which is really convenient. Sometimes I just pop in to shower if I'm on the road or something too. So it doesn't necessarily have to just be a fitness thing for that purchase to pay for itself. But I think it's fine. I was joking around with one of my other trans trainer friends, and he was like, "Oh, you're going to the gym. It's like, call it a fitness center if you want. I don't know, but it's got equipment and there are people working out. So
you can still move plenty. You can still move plenty. If not, I'm telling you right now, like if you can't get a good workout in there, like it's just lack of imagination, I think sometimes. Because like, yes, even if it's just the Smith machines and dumbbells, you can still get a lot of stuff done and getting your unilateral work, do some pause work, do some, slow eccentrics, whatever it might be. Like there's a lot of different things you can do. I liked your point though about just the price point, the accessibility, and whether someone's a transgender athlete and they're watching their funds, or just literally anyone watching their funds. That's another thing that always jumped out at me is I love the accessibility of the place, because a lot of people think, oh, gym memberships, they have to be prohibitively expensive. They have to be hundreds of dollars a month, et cetera, where it's great that you can have that environment where it's again open to a lot of people for sure. So
yeah, exactly.
I love it. Liam, a bunch of awesome things. Before we jump into the lightning round, I'll ask a bunch of questions. I wanted to give a shout out. We'll put it in the show notes, video descriptions, wherever direction that might be from where I'm pointing, for your Instagram and your YouTube as well too. If people want to find out more information about you and your journey and your training, your posts are awesome. Again, very inspirational. Again, given the good old gym selfies, like flexing, which I always love as well too. Exactly. So, all right. So jumping into the lightning round, favorite exercise at the moment.
Rear delt cable flies.
Love it. On a similar note, what's your favorite power lift? Which one? Which of the three?
Ooh. I mean, my heart wants to say bench press, but like as far as excitement goes, I honestly think I'm a deadlift fan. So, I
mean, you got to finish off strong, So
yeah, exactly.
I love it. I always love the squat. That was always my favorite. So
that's fair.
Favorite non-workout hobby.
Well, non-workout hobby. Well, okay, I was about to say we go hiking, but I guess that's a form of exercise.
That's what I always found. I always found that all my hobbies were like physically active. I was like, I need to find something like, I don't know, do crochet or something like that.
Yeah, my coworkers were like, do you play video games? I was like, no. I don't even own a console. No, but my wife and I are season ticket holders to the Colorado Rapids MLS soccer team. So cool. We've really been getting into going to see the matches and supporting the teams and getting into our American football league. Yeah. So
have you seen that Netflix is it Netflix special? I can never remember what anything's streaming on. Welcome to Wrexham. Have you seen that at all?
I love Welcome to Wrexham, and you caught me on the one day I'm not wearing my Wrexham hat.
Oh.
I
That's hilarious.
Wrexham hat. Yeah.
That is so much fun.
Kudos to the Wrexham women. The Wrexham women just won top of the table. So
wow.
Shout out to those ladies.
That's fantastic. So, yeah, no, absolutely. It's such a fun series. Obviously, Rob and Ryan are hilarious on their own right.
Yeah.
But, it's just a fun, good story. Just wholesome. Journey.
I think I love the Phil, the coach, the manager of the club, the enthusiasm counter. I think it's my favorite feature.
Yeah, every time he's dropping an F-bomb during during the pep talks. Yeah, like
yeah.
The edit. I mean, I edit a lot of videos for Nerd Fitness, and the editing on the whole episodes are just hilarious.
That's great.
So I love it. Cool. And then I guess last question, which I always love, is best weapon in the apocalypse. What would you grab?
My friends, you'll know, shotgun axe.
I love it.
Little Mac throwback for little agents.
I love it. Liam, this was such a pleasure. Again, thank you so much for your time, for your expertise, for all your advice for everyone with lifting. This was awesome to connect. And like I said, we'll look forward to talking again soon. And hope you have a good rest of your day. And hope everyone watching has a great rest of your day too. So, all right, everyone, take care. Absolutely. Stay strong. Stay nerdy. See ya.
All right.
What's up, my fellow rebels? Coach Jim here. And as you might know, or maybe not know, International Transgender Day of Visibility is coming up real soon. And in order to really kind of honor that day, we wanted to reach out to athletes and fitness professionals in that space to get not only their overall fitness advice, but also specific advice to the transgender athlete. I am joined here today by Kris Lara. You can give give a wave, whatnot.
Hey guys.
So thankful for your time today. I'll let you just step right off into your intro. You can definitely go through it better than I can, and then we'll start off with some great questions for today.
Gotcha. Well, hi guys. Like you said, my name is Kris. I am a NASM certified personal trainer and online coach. My specialty is just focusing on the trans community, helping them take those first few steps into the fitness world, because as a trans man, I've been out for 11 years, on hormones for 7. So I'm very aware, painfully aware of some of the hardships and just some of the general discomfort of being trans in a fitness area.
Again, it's exactly why we're here to again talk about that, and to again hopefully give a lot of information, a lot of advice to people who might be in the same situation you were, 10, 11 years ago or 7 years ago, as it might be. So I also read that you're a fan of horror movies and anime. Is that correct?
Yeah,
we'll talk about that later in the lightning round.
Gotcha.
But yeah, definitely love both of those. So again, from all that I've seen for your training, obviously a lot of bodybuilding, a lot of really hard work in the gym. What would you say is your sort of overall fitness philosophy or approach to fitness, like you personally?
Well, personally, I think that it should be something you enjoy, because I feel like a lot of people have this kind of mentality that they're going to get fit and then it's over, the hard work is done. But trying to find ways to enjoy it, and to enjoy the time, the grueling time inside of the gym and all that goes into it. Not just that, but building your meals and setting your routines and working with a trainer if you have one of those too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great. It's all about making it sustainable, like
Exactly.
we shouldn't have to grit our teeth. I mean, yes, there's times we grit our teeth and bear through it, but yeah, in a certain way, like you should enjoy some of that stuff. So no, absolutely. I totally agree on that one. Now, in terms of I guess your overall fitness philosophy and just how you approach fitness now, have there been any influencers and or mentors that have kind of helped you along the way?
Yeah, definitely. As much as I hate to admit it, not too many trans idols come to mind, just because when I first started, I had no idea that there was a fitness community based around my gender identity. So didn't really have a role model to look up to when I first started out, but slowly I found some. I spent a lot of time watching, of course, Chris Bumstead. Another big name that I watched a lot of was Anthony Mantello. And the big thing for me was watching their days, watching the day in the lives, seeing how they incorporated fitness into their everyday and were obviously very successful with it and enjoying it since they'd been doing it for so long. As I discovered the trans fitness community, one name that comes to mind immediately is Alex Talinka. Not too sure if you've interviewed with him before, but definitely a big name that I could think of. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I'll link to all these in the show notes as well too, because yeah, this is again all really helpful information for people to go through. So, and I'd say that, I mean, just going through your Instagram, I mean, you have become a mentor and a influence for a lot of people, a great positive influence, I'd say. So
thank you.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to make it look enjoyable,
that's what we all try to do here in the fitness world. Now, in terms of, again, I mean, just looking at your Instagram and things that you put out there, there's a lot of confidence behind that, and obviously, very hard fought confidence in many ways. What would you say, again? This is just overall steps and advice for people to just to build confidence in the gym and then just in themselves, just overall.
Well, I think overall, just stop making it a competition. Stop comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah.
We are all on our own individual fitness journeys, and my journey is not going to look the same as yours or the next person. Even if we're in the same community, we are the same likes, dislikes, all that kind of stuff. It's not going to be the same for anyone. We're all so different. We're all human. So that's a big thing, I think, is turning off the competitive nature of working out and building your physique or whatever your goal is with fitness, because it's not always to look good. Sometimes people just want to go through the motions and have that safe space. Yeah. That's the big one, definitely the big one. And I can see the most just self-esteem issues arise from that one.
Yeah. It's kind of it feels a very double-edged sword with social media these days. And I know I'm not the first person to have this hot take, but whereas you can get very motivated and you can get a lot of fantastic information on social media, but then the flip side, exactly to your point, you can start comparing yourself to others. Why aren't I this far along? Why don't I have that goal? Why aren't I doing as well?
Exactly.
Yeah. Is there any, I mean, I guess I'm always kind of answering the question, but is there any sort of, indication that you've felt in the past, or you've seen people in the past where you realize, oh, we need to just shut off that comparison or the social media for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have quite a few clients who came to me through Instagram, and just working with them, talking to them, quite a few of them have gone ahead to delete their Instagrams just because working out, talking with me, visually seeing their Instagram feed, it was creating a negative headspace for them. And of course, they left on their own accord, but after they've left that, I can tell just talking to them, they're in a much better place now and so much more focused on their own progress rather than checking in on their idol to see how far along they are in comparing.
In comparison, yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
And exactly like you, I mean, Instagram and any social media, it's highlight reels, of course.
Mhm.
I've also found in my own training that I tend to sometimes take an amalgamation of different people. Like, why aren't I lifting as heavy as this power lifter, and as graceful as this acrobat, and as
Yep.
fluid as this parkour athlete? I'm like, wait, I'm literally creating a person that doesn't exist in my head from
Yeah.
everyone
The
kind of put
perfect
together
man,
on that one.
literally.
Exactly. So no, that's just interesting. It's interesting to hear that exactly people are doing that on their own accord, though. Like, just, hey,
Mhm.
you know what? I can realize this is a negative influence because they have your positive influence in their lives. So that's super cool to hear. Super cool to hear.
Thanks.
Now, of course, like I said, sometimes, we might be working out at home, and, there's obviously, confidence issues, in ourselves right now. But let's talk a little bit about just navigating the challenging gym situations,
Mhm.
and especially for the transgender athlete, which of course is a completely different sort of ball of wax, as it were.
Mhm.
If it is one of those things again, and I think we've said time and time again in various stuff, is a transgender athlete doesn't have to go to the gym, and sometimes it might not be safe. But if they do decide they want to step into there, what are some maybe tips for kind of doing that?
Some tips. A oversized shirt I've always found to really help out. A hoodie, oversized shirt, sweatpants, anything
Mhm.
to kind of cover up the silhouette of the physique.
Yeah.
That way it gives you peace of mind. You're not staring at maybe what makes you uncomfortable in the mirror. You're not stuck staring at that as you're exercising. And also it kind of puts like a mystique on you.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're a little earlier on in your transition, passing is kind of up in the air sometimes. So it's always fun to kind of create some mystique around that and just kind of hide what you're working on so nobody else can judge. You don't have to worry about any eyes on you because all they're seeing is baggy clothing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Headphones are a great thing just to create your own safe space and, make your own vibe. Whatever kind of energy you want to feel during your workout, noise cancel on, and then you are good to go. You don't really have to worry about the dudes on the treadmill behind you and what they could possibly be saying, because if you don't hear it, you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think headphones are good just in general, because
Oh yeah.
some of the conversations are just so inane. I don't
Yeah,
want to hear I don't want to hear them anyway. I don't want to hear about someone's Saturday night or whatever. I just want to I just want
exactly.
to lift. But no, very, very good pieces of advice, and ones that I'd heard before in that regard. Because
And
yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
oh yeah, sorry. I just wanted to say, and as well, just bring a friend. I can't say how comforting it is to have somebody, even if within your own community, if it's yourself freshly coming out as trans and your other friend who's freshly come out as trans or a little more experience,
Mhm.
having somebody else there who understands is really, really helpful. And they don't even have to be trans, just somebody you trust, somebody that's an ally that can
Yeah.
kind of stick up for you if anything does happen.
Yeah, no, that sounds really, really important. Was there any time that you stepped into a place and you just kind of felt off, like the vibe in the gym felt off, and if so, what in particular made it kind of feel off?
So for me, I'm actually very grateful. I've never had any sort of off vibe in the gym. I've never had any negative experience or confrontation. That being said, I did start exercising many years into my hormone replacement therapy.
Mhm.
So I was passing 100% of the time. So I'm very grateful that I never had to experience that. So I can't really think of any time that it was a bad vibe. I've never even seen um, somebody else of my community being spoken down to. And of course, I would jump in the action of then. But
Yeah.
overall, it's always been just a positive space, a positive community. It's a lot of people uplifting each other, but I know that's not the case for everybody,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. And again, maybe there's a friend story that you have, or something you can think in mind. Yeah, what I've heard time and time again is you don't even necessarily have to, if you could walk into a place and you just have a feeling that it
Mhm.
doesn't feel right, even if you can't articulate why, that's enough reason to still step away. Is that kind of what you've heard overall?
Absolutely. I've got friends who are too afraid to step into the locker rooms because the first time they did, it was all eyes on them, and they just could feel the tension in that they were perceiving them differently than maybe others would have. So not me personally, but yes, 100%. If not the gym, the locker room space can definitely give some bad vibes if you happen to go in at a really busy time, or, you get the one guy who can't mind his business.
Yeah, there's always seems to be one guy like that in the gym. But just always as a bit of a warning, just if it doesn't feel right, then it isn't right, and keep yourself safe in that regard.
100%.
Now, of course, I mean, we're talking about the transgender athlete stepping in and possibly not feeling safe and what they can maybe do. But again, it's not a one-sided conversation. What would you say, and maybe from just seeing the places that you've been in, the gyms that you've been in that have made you feel welcome, what are some things that gym owners, personal trainers who of course live in the gym, and then other members on those sort of three tiers of responsibility and whatnot, what are some of those things that they can do to help transgender members feel more comfortable?
I guess going from top down, gym owners having those like pride flags somewhere in the gym, whether it's like the trans rights, the Black Lives Matters, the LGBT, or the unison one. I think it's really nice to see just that the owners are open, accepting, or at least open-minded. I can't make that judgment call just from a simple flag on the wall, but seeing that there definitely does kind of make me feel at ease that, okay, I'm welcomed here. This is fine. For personal trainers, I am a personal trainer in a commercial gym locally as well. And if at any point I get a client who I'm not 100% or, I have to question, I will always ask, what pronouns do you prefer? If a name comes up that maybe doesn't match what they've told me, I always, just reconfirm, what name do we prefer, pronouns, just getting those first questions out of the way so that we can continue our relationship in a comfortable space, and that they can see that I have acknowledged and I am respecting their identity and pronouns. Other members, I think the best is just to treat them as no different, because really you have no idea if you're talking to a trans person ever, especially just passing by in a gym, asking, hey, are you using that? Can I work in with you? So just treating them like a normal human being, respect, that goes a long way.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fantastic through and through. And again, I know there'll be a lot of people that watch this interview that are just members. I know there'll be some that will be personal trainers, and then hopefully, some that are gym owners that thinking, oh, you know what, I really should do more and to make everyone feel welcome and inclusive in the community. My last gym that I worked at in person before I stepped into Nerd Fitness, I absolutely loved that every year we would march in the Pride Parade, and we would pull our van. We would pull our van, just like hook it up with harnesses and just pull it awesome. Every year. So that was down in DC. So again, I always loved that. I always loved that sort of energy and community that we had there. But to your point, just even just putting up a flag says a lot. Which not every gym that you don't really see that in too many gyms sometimes. So
and another point with the gym owners, if a issue arises in the gym, if somebody comes to you and tells you that I've had this negative experience, or they were, saying transphobic things to me in the locker room, or I felt unsafe here, it's great to see them actually take action and immediately jump to their feet and do something about it, rather than just, oh, okay, we'll deal with this, just feeling like our safety is a priority. Because like I said, I've never had an issue myself, and I'm very, very grateful for it. But I've had clients and friends who've gone to owners, have gone to the employees, and have told them they are uncomfortable. And if the employees didn't do anything, if the owner didn't do anything, they almost kind of instigated and made them feel even more uncomfortable by kind of laughing or, making remarks, comments about it. Yeah, it's very unfortunate. But just taking it serious and taking our safety serious is the best thing that a gym owner can do.
And that's it's really unfortunate that a owner would, maybe the owner, they have a million things on their mind and their plate. It might not be first and foremost in their mind, unfortunately, sometimes. But if it's brought to their attention, you would hope that would be the impetus to make some sort of change or address it in a serious manner. And that's yeah, it's just really sad that that's not happening, quite honestly. So, no, thanks for the thoughts there. I think that's, again, a lot of really good things for a lot of people to think about. Now, swinging back to just kind of working out and overall in general, and the people that you've worked with in person and online and whatnot. I always find this to be a fun question. What's something that you find missing, most people are missing from their workouts and from their nutrition? So like overall that you see.
Overall, really, the main one I see is lack of intensity for their workouts
Mhm.
and a lack of structure for their nutrition.
Mhm.
They, they hear you have to eat big to get big. So they start slamming down a bunch of food. And
Yeah.
then at the end of it, you're like, well, I'm just fat. I don't really see the results of it. I don't look like
Yeah.
you at the end of a bulk. And yeah, I just, for both as well, I just think it's a lack of knowledge.
Mhm.
Just knowing how to structure the foods, what foods are going to get you to your goals a little bit quicker rather than other foods that may taste really good,
Yeah.
but kind of don't do so much in the grand scheme of things of growing.
You're talking like dirty bulks and things like that, like where
Yeah.
people will just like get a bag of hamburgers and like, yeah, this will be
Exactly.
this will be
Eat big,
good.
get big. Yes,
Yeah.
100%. I've dealt with a few of those in my in person, and having to teach them that, well, yes, we need all the energy and calories we need. There are some better options that we could pick to fuel
Yeah.
these workouts. Maybe not
No,
a McDouble every like as a
yeah.
pre-workout,
I feel called out. I think I had a McDouble like 2 days ago, but no, I understand. So, swinging back to your comment about intensity, I find that interesting as well too. I think what I've seen is there's some people that you tell them to, hey, work hard, really put it into it, and they'll do it. They'll be working
Yes.
out till their eyes bleed, and that's great.
Yes.
Sometimes you might have to pull them back, and that's fantastic. In terms of people on the flip side, where it's like maybe they were never in athletics growing up, or they never had like that physical push before. What are some things that you found helpful to help them kind of literally take up the intensity?
Yeah. Well, if it's in person, I really don't give them a choice. We're bringing up the intensity. You signed up with me, so
Exactly.
buckle up. But as far as on their own, I really try to explain what working to failure means and how those last 2-3 reps should be pretty tough to complete. You should be questioning, can I get another one at the very end of your workout? You should be pushing, as hard as possible, even harder than last time. And I agree with you. I don't think that really people have never pushed themselves to that point. So they don't really know, what they're capable of, the exact, how much farther they can go when they start feeling the burn. Most people just, oh, this burns, I'm done. You probably could have gotten 10 more at that, you would never know. You never know. You've never been pushed beyond your limits.
Yeah, it feels uncomfortable, and they're like, well, I showed up, I did some reps, that should be good enough, sort of thing. Where it's
Exactly.
like, man, you need to kind of push in that. And then in terms of session to session, if like, again, you're online coaching someone, is there anything in particular that you find helpful for that, for like increasing the intensity? I mean, we can look at numbers, of course, but anything else that you find?
I have them rate the sets. Not the whole set, are pretty much, when you're in the gym, you're so delirious from the workout that you can barely remember to write down your workouts. So
Yeah.
whatever they can get me, but I try to get them to rate the intensity or the difficulty of that set between 1 and 10 RPE scale.
Yeah.
That way I can kind of gauge roughly how difficult or how hard they were working for that weight. And that way I can keep on pushing them to use that weight. Okay, well, if it wasn't as hard this week, then let's add 5 pounds and let's make it as hard as it was last week. Just kind of, it's just more of a numbers game for me, since I'm not there physically with them to force them to add, 2.5 or 5 on. It's more of just a stop and think, how do you feel? And then once we sit down at the end of the week, bi-weekly, whatever it is, we go over it and just make some slight suggestions. And, well, I see this is becoming easier. That's great. We want to make it hard again. So it's time to go back up.
No, that's perfect. That sounds great. And even if they hadn't pushed themselves in the past, like just getting them to think about that again,
Exactly.
RPE, and like, how hard did that actually feel? Oh, you know what? Yeah, it's kind of sandbagging it a little bit. Maybe I
Just
can,
going through it,
put a little bit, weight on. Yeah, I've had times where people will finish a weight, and then it's like, okay, do that weight again next workout and try to do 5 more reps, 10 more reps, and they can do 5 or 10 more reps. And it's like, what does that tell us about how hard we were working the first time?
Exactly.
We could have done literally twice as much. So no, that's all fantastic. And yeah, a really good take home piece of advice is just, really ask yourself how hard you're working, and are you stopping at the little first sign of discomfort, or are you pushing past that? So
I
I
think the
love
big one
that.
would be being mindful, because not only do I preach that about nutrition and just being mindful of the foods you eat rather than counting every single calorie, because I know most people don't like counting calories.
Yeah.
It can be a pain sometimes. So it's the same thing with fitness and nutrition. Just be mindful of it. Just be aware of what's happening, how you're feeling, mindfulness.
Yeah.
That's all I've got to say for it.
No, I think that's great. Do you feel, as you're mentioning that with mindfulness around fitness, around nutrition, do you feel like some people might not have that mindfulness because there's such a negative association with both working out, moving around, and nutrition overall?
Yeah, absolutely. Most people I find just kind of go through the motions. Like you said, I showed up, I did it. Because
Yeah.
you see a lot of like motivational gym stuff that's just show up, you'll thank yourself later. Well, I think that most people do show up, they just aren't really getting the most out of it when they do.
Gotcha. Yeah. Just if you're not quite getting the results you're looking for, just crank up the dial just a little bit more in that regard.
Just one
So,
notch. That's all it takes. Just push
yeah.
yourself one step further the next time.
No, absolutely. I love that. And now in training as well too, and you don't have to give away any sort of special sauce, any sort of coaching secrets with this one, but I saw in particular a couple different posts you had about specific training helpful for the transgender athlete. Is there anything in particular that you've found that maybe mainstream fitness advice, it's like, this is a little bit off the mark for myself when I've been training?
Um, at least for me, in my perspective as a binary trans male, I strictly identify he, him as, so there's no gender fluidity in me, but for the most part, watching or anything that I see on Instagram is kind of geared more towards the Dorito-esque shape. And
Okay.
as far as I've spoken to my own experience, that is exactly the shape that I wanted. I wanted to avoid any sort of feminine shape to my body, anything that could be viewed as that. So seeing all of like the Dorito workouts and building your chest, shoulders, and lats to kind of create this shape does abide very well, at least for me personally, with my goal.
So really just a matter of picking the exercises and the goals that are directed toward, yeah, exactly like you said, the shape that you want. So
Exactly.
We'll talk about like superhero workouts. Like if someone is getting ready for the next Marvel movie, they need the wide cap shoulders, they need that
Exactly.
genie in a bottle look, as
Yeah.
it were. So that makes sense. So if someone's looking for that, then work those same sort of muscles to build those same areas, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's some challenges that come along with it, right? Like, of course, being born biologically as female, I have a different bone structure than a biological male does. So my waist is a little bit wider, and just in general, my torso is a little bit smaller. There's nothing I can do about my bone structure. It's just something, over the years I've just come to accept and come to love. But I think there is like a kind of missing piece of knowledge where, how do we build around that? How do we kind of overcome our bone structure? It's not just trans people that, have this issue. There are tons of people with wide waists who are looking for that teeny tiny waist, and unfortunately can't do much about your bone. So just going to build around it, make everything else look way bigger in comparison to your waist. And that's also the kind of rule I follow. Is a lot of us tend to hold fat more in the love handle area, the lower back, and it creates a not so Dorito-esque shape. So really building out the shoulders, the lats, the traps, just making yourself look heavier up top really balances out the physique and gives the more masculine, straight edge, streamline sides.
Yeah. No, that's good. And it is, I heard someone smarter than me, someone said about like bodybuilding. It's like building an illusion, quite honestly,
100%.
Yeah. It's okay. Yes. I can't necessarily, increase or decrease the size of my hip bones, or maybe even around stuff around my waist, but I can increase this other stuff.
Exactly.
Have you found as well too, while we're talking about sort of that bodybuilding aesthetic, of the wide shoulders, narrow waist, have you found that building out the legs kind of builds that as well too? Because I've also heard, of course, like sort of the X physique. Do you find that to be helpful for general population, for transgender population, anything in particular?
Well, working legs, I think, is the most important body part to work of all. I think we all need to do it, but especially for the trans community, yes. Just because, like I said, we do have the wider hips, and that if you can make that the smallest part of the body, they're going to look tiny no matter what size they are. So if you end up
Mhm.
with monster quads and giant shoulders and you had a wide waist to start with, nobody's going to be able to tell anymore. They're just going to see these massive hunks of meat on top and bottom of your body.
Yeah. No, I love it. That's good as well too. It's it's something that I think, again, people first start off just going through different exercises and getting into the habit, but then exactly like you're talking about, getting into like specific exercises for specific body parts for muscular growth, not
Mhm.
spot reduction, but for
Exactly.
muscular growth can be super helpful in that regard. So I definitely found that cool. And in terms of just training goals overall, is there anything that you're focusing on this year?
For this year, I am just trying to focus on putting in a little bit more mass. I've been very lean for the last 3 years or so,
Mhm.
sub 130. This is the first ever bulk I've done that I've successfully maintained sub 20% body fat
Cool.
at the end of it. And instead of it being a 3 month, it turned into an 8 month. So I'm just going to try to hold on to as much as the mass that I've built from last August to April. And yeah, we'll do a miniature cut for this next month, but yeah, just going to keep on
Cool.
bulking, the never ending bulk.
It's like never ending bulk, but yeah. Sometimes you have to like cut back a little bit
Just
and then you
reel it
maintain. Yeah,
in.
maintain.
It's
No,
starting to
I
get nice
understand that.
out. The shirt's got to come off, We've got to see
Exactly.
some obliques.
We're past the first day of spring now. I totally understand that. That's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
So no, it's great. So Chris, before we jump into the lightning round, I just wanted to give a shout out to a couple of the other things that you have floating around online. Of course, you've got your Instagram. Again, I'll link this in the show notes, Lifting with Kris. A lot of great information, a lot of great conversation. I loved seeing, again, all the different posts, and there was so many different people, really positive back and forth about training, about body positivity, about just all that overall. So super cool to see. I'll post that as well too. You've also got links on Instagram to for online coaching and a couple other different ways to support you. So that, again, will be something that people can look at if they're interested. Fantastic that, again, you're doing online coaching in that regard, so that, again, people can feel safe and they can feel guided through through their fitness journey, as it were. So super cool. And again,
Thank
I'll link
you.
all of that stuff. Absolutely, I'll link all of that stuff in the show notes. All right. So lightning round. Favorite exercise at the moment?
Ooh, close gripped close gripped incline dumbbell pressing lights up the upper pecs like I've never felt before.
Yeah.
Just gives me a better pump than I've ever had for anything else.
One where you're pressing them inwards as you press.
Yeah, you've got two dumbbells and you
Yeah.
press straight up
Yeah.
for more of like the kind of upper middle, as much as you can target a muscle group,
Yeah. No, it's still going to put some emphasis, but I haven't done that for quite some time, but I think I might give that a go next chest workout. Cool. Swinging back to it, and I told you I would. Favorite horror movie?
Scream, the first one.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite.
Definitely number one of all time. First one that comes to mind. Nothing else will ever take that spot for me.
I was going to say, what did you think of the most recent one then?
I did not know it came out until the day it came out, and I've yet to see it. So I am very excited.
Yeah.
And I live a little bit under a rock, so.
No, it's okay. There's so much stuff to kind of absorb these days that, I'll do the same thing where I'm like, oh, wait, what movie's coming out? So
cool.
I'll tell you,
yeah.
With the Scream movie, there was, I thought this was really cool. Somebody ended up winning it, but it was a contest to Airbnb the original Scream house. And that would have been,
incredible.
That would have been incredible.
Wow.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have slept the entire weekend. I would have just been wide awake, running around, taking pictures and stuff like that.
It.
Exactly. All right. Swinging over to your other hobby and / love, anime. So this is a two-part lightning question. What's the best classic anime that you like? And what's the best new anime that you think everyone should check out?
This is controversial. This is putting me in some hot water here.
It's okay.
But I think for a classic, I think the best is Akira. It is a older movie, so not necessarily an anime, not a series, but I don't even want to give too much about it. It's go in blind. It is a absolute trip. Beautiful, all hand drawn. I think it's like 1980 something. So it's old. And for the new one,
don't say things from the 80s are old, please don't. No, but yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely.
For a new one, I am probably going to have to go with Attack on Titan.
Okay.
I've been keeping up with that for the last 10 to 12 years, reading it. I started it when I was 13 and I am now turning 25. So heavily invested, very biased answer, but storyline is like unlike
Amazing.
anything I've ever seen before. And I wish I could go back before I had watched it to watch it again.
That's a fantastic recommendation. And that's one I've heard time and time again. I love Akira. Akira is a classic. Yeah, just a whole bunch of different themes that they tackle there. But yeah, Attack on Titan is something I have not seen. But yeah, I should probably make some time for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Please do.
And actually, this is the last question I've been asking everyone, and this is almost kind of related. Best weapon in the apocalypse. What would you grab? You're running out the door, or you're running to the, I don't know, weapon shop.
Oh man.
It can be a fake weapon too, if you got something from Fallout or whatever it might be.
The first thing that came to mind was a katana, but I've just been playing the forests and running around with that, hacking cannibals. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. But realistically, I would probably just grab a roll of duct tape and hope for the best. Would be my choice of weapon.
I love it. So no, that's fantastic. Kris, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your fitness advice, your expertise. Again, I'll post all the stuff we talked about in the links and probably be putting it in graphics in the video. But I appreciate everything that you had to share with the audience today. And yeah, hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Stay strong, stay nerdy. See ya.